Aloha kako. Hello, everybody. My name is Chiara Ferrari-Wong. I am Kanaka Maoli, which means I have Native Hawaiian heritage, amongst other things, as my last name suggests. And I'll be presenting ka Mālamalama o ka Mahina, Building Pathways for Indigenous and Lunar Science in Hawaii, which is a new program we're developing in Hawaii. So Hawaii is faced with a few problems, one of which is brain drain problem. In a survey conducted in, I believe, 2020 of brain drain in Hawaii-born adults, about 15% of Hawaii-born people ages 18 to 44 with a bachelor's degree or higher are living on the mainland, whereas 7.7% of Hawaii-born people ages 18 to 44 with a bachelor's degree or higher are living in Hawaii. So there are significantly more Hawaii-born people with bachelor's degrees or higher living on the mainland than there are who stayed in the actual state. We're also faced with a problem in the planetary sciences in Hawaii. We do have a significant planetary science community in the state. However, we don't have that much Native Hawaiian representation in the industry. So in a 2020 survey of minorities or underrepresented groups in planetary science workforce, you can see that I've highlighted or circled Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, and it actually has an asterisk in the representation because that means less than 5 respondents to the survey were of Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander descent. So we're really not represented despite being a sizable industry in the state of Hawaii. So we were thinking about this, me and my colleague Emily Costello, and we decided to collaborate with our friends over at Honua Scholars, which is a new organization founded in 2020. And we're also graciously being funded by Mayans Connecting Indigenous Culture and Science, or Mayans Connect for short. So we recently received thank you. We recently received 2 years worth of funding for this pilot project that we are establishing. Perfect. All right, so why did we choose to work with Honua Scholars? Honua Scholars is actually, their mission is to combat the sharp decline in college and graduate school enrollment, particularly amongst Native Hawaiians, as a result of educational complications due to COVID-19. They also wish to empower Native Hawaiians to become leaders in science, technology, engineering, and math, while foreign and non-local interests continue to dominate Hawaii's technology sector. They also want to promote cultural value-based STEM practices and increase STEM participation from Indigenous communities. So we thought they were the perfect collaborators for our project. So our program goals, we have about 5 program goals. The first thing is we want to establish an ecosystem for Hawaii local high school students and undergraduate students to develop their STEM skills and access more opportunities in STEM higher education. We also wanted to establish this partnership with Honua Scholars so that we can develop and maintain a mentorship support system that uplifts Indigenous students. Our third goal is to develop mentorship plans to aid in personal goal development of our students and help them find success on their own terms. Our fourth goal was to empower Native Hawaiians to become leaders in Hawaii STEM industries, such as planetary science. And our fifth goal is to provide opportunities for local high school students and undergrads to present their cutting edge research to the local community and wider scientific community and be represented there. So our program consists of about 6 high school juniors we'll be recruiting of Native Hawaiian or NHPI descent, and then 1 undergraduate or post-baccalaureate will also be selected for our program, which is beginning in the fall of 2022. So we're in the selection process right now. The high school students, we're going to run it a little bit like an after-school program for them. They're going to work with a mentor on developing their own science fair projects in lunar science for their senior year. They'll come in about once a week for about 2 hours after school. And then they'll also help out with an established research project that our PI, Emily Costello, has developed for them. The undergraduate will work one-on-one with both myself and Emily on an established research project at UH Manoa, and then also shadow daily work activities. The science objective for the project is to focus on understanding the present state of regolith in regions around lunar skylights. The students are going to be using crater counts, rock abundance data, block counts to assess the state of the regolith around 4 skylights, and then place their analysis in the context of lunar scientific studies, including the Apollo mission, which sensed regolith depth. And we hope to develop a few STEM skills, such as using GIS software and also various data analysis techniques. There also are funding opportunities for these students. So our undergraduate mentees will receive a salary for their work with a research project with Emily. The high school students who wish to continue a research project over the summer will receive funding as summer interns. The undergraduate mentee will also receive full funding to present their work at LPSC during the spring semester. Finally, we have various networking and presentation opportunities, as well as development workshops. So like I said on the previous slide, the undergraduate mentee will be able to go to LPSC fully funded. We also have an open house in our department that happens every 2 years. And so mentors and mentees will be there to talk about their work with local community members and actually fellow classmates, because a lot of schools visit us then in an informal setting. Honua Scholars also puts on an annual Lima Symposium. And so mentees are going to be able to attend and present their findings to the local Hawai'i science community if they so wish. And then Honua Scholars is actually going to be developing workshops. They are welcome, mentors and mentees are welcome to participate in workshops that Honua Scholars already runs for personal and professional development, but Honua Scholars also wishes to develop specific workshops for our students, such as like grant writing or college applications and stuff like that. That's all I have for today, though. So mahalo. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you want to check out Honua Scholars, that's their website. Thank you very much. Oh, sure. I can take questions now then.
I was very nice presentation.
Thank you.
I was wondering, in thinking about some missteps in Hawaii with the TMT telescope.
Yes.
If, there was a goal that was set up to try to do some outreach to the Native Hawaiian population, bring more scholars into astronomy and astrophysics, but the whole thing was just a mess. It was mishandled and miscommunication. I wonder if there's some lessons there that might be learned from this that you all, for example, might be applying to help grow that science community among the Native population.
Absolutely, that's a great question. Yeah, with TMT, it was a little bit about the mistrust that happened with the previous telescopes and the astronomy industry in Hawaii, which doesn't really have a large Native population or representation either. There's only a couple of people I can think of who represent that population, despite it being a fairly sizable industry in our state. So what our goals are, as well as Honua Scholars' goals, is basically to develop, to take students from the Kamehameha schools, which is a Native Hawaiian K through 12 school and stuff. They have wonderful, wonderful STEM programs, and basically, develop them to become the next leaders in our industries in Hawaii. That way, Native Hawaiians have a voice in the industries that are making decisions, such as in planetary science and especially in astronomy, since we do use the land there. Astronomers use the land there. So that's really our goal with what we're doing.